Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is going to be another Tony soundtrack review for you guys, and I am definitely very excited to talk about the soundtrack. I really am. It is one of the musicals nominated for Best Musical, and I'm definitely very happy to talk about it. Now, the show in general, I was very interested in seeing how the show is going to be. I heard it's a very different show. Also, they released the first song on last week when you pre-ordered the soundtrack, and this is going to be my review for the cast album of Something Rotten, which this was a show that I was very interested in, and I have to say that after listening to it, this show is great. It really is. I mean, just the songs. I mean, not the. I don't know about the show, but the songs, the soundtrack, it's great. It really is. There's not a single weak song in the bunch. I love every song in this show. I still want Fun Home to win for Best Musical, obviously. I really do. I mean, it made me cry. This show, I really do want it to get some things. There are things that I think this show should get that I will talk about. But the thing I love about the show, right off the bat, is just the way the show is done. It's completely against what a Shakespeare play should be, and I'll talk about that right when we get into the first song. So let's just get right into the song, because that right away proves my first point, and one of the reasons why I love this show. So let's talk about the first song in this show, called Welcome to the Renaissance. When we think about this show, we think, okay, this is in the 1590s, and this isn't very Shakespeare. This perfectly shows you what the show is going to be. This is, we don't give a fuck what you think about the 1590s. We're going to tell you our version of it, which I think is hilarious that they did that. And it doesn't seem irrelevant because it's a comedy. You can do whatever the hell you want to with it, because that's the whole point of the show. I mean, hell, the main character is based off a character from Shakespeare. Like, he's obviously not real. Nick Bottom is from A Midsummer Night's Dream. Like, he's obviously not a real character, and I love that they did that, and they're just so committed to that in this song. I mean, they're showing you that this is the Renaissance, you know, all the drama is over, this is gonna be a fun show, so sit back, relax, and also, especially, I have to say, Michael James Scott, I mean, he is completely just, he is on his mark, he knows what he's doing here, and the ensemble of the show is fantastic as well. It just perfectly puts you into the world. Now, I heard many people say that this is one of the best opening numbers in years, and this song was available for pre-order when you pre-ordered the soundtrack last week, and I really wanted to talk about it, but I said no, I'm gonna wait till the rest of the soundtrack comes out. I absolutely love this song. It's still one of my favorite songs in the show by far. I think it's a fantastic way to put you into that world, and I really do love Welcome to Renaissance. It's a great way to start the show. So next we get into the next song, which is God, I Hate Shakespeare. On inspiration, like lightning doth strike him, and he captures my soul. Jeez, you sound just like him. Really? Thanks. You should hate Shakespeare. Again, this is a song from the 1590s, and it's just so ridiculous that this guy is just saying, you know, Shakespeare, who we all know is this loved guy that, you know, in this world everyone loves, and in fact, he's like a rock star here, which I think is really funny. He's not even called Shakespeare, he's called the Bard, which is hilarious, or he's just Will, which is really funny. So just to see that this guy hates Shakespeare, you don't know why, it perfectly puts you into his character. And I've heard people say they don't really like his character, but you have to admit, he is giving his all on that stage, really. Brian Darcy James, he is so committed to every role he does, and I think he does a fantastic job in this song. He's so funny to listen to, and he's so intriguing as well. I mean, just the concept, God, I Hate Shakespeare. How can you not listen to that? How can you not just be at least somewhat intrigued by that? I mean, I can understand why someone hates Shakespeare, but in this time period, why would anyone hate Shakespeare? And it definitely is a very interesting thing. I think it definitely is very funny. I definitely really loved God, I Hate Shakespeare, especially when he's trying to sway the townspeople into turning against Shakespeare is hilarious. So the next song is a very rare song because there really aren't many of these, but this is from and I'll talk about why it's so rare, but the next song is Right Hand Man. Because this show does take place in the 1590s, there obviously isn't much for the female characters of the show to do. But this show makes fun of that, which I think is very funny, and it's a very rarity in the musical, but this character is Bia. She is Nick's wife, who basically just wants to do whatever she can to help him, but because of the time period, he doesn't want her to, because it just wasn't a thing back then for wives to help their husbands. He doesn't want her to get involved, obviously, which you can tell he doesn't really want her involved in this, which I think is really interesting. But for whatever reason, she does want to get involved, and it's really funny. I mean, just hearing her sing stuff that man should do, just right hand man, right way, I think is really funny. She's willing to dress as a man to protect him, and it's really funny. I think definitely Heidi Blankenstaff does a great job in this song. She's very funny. She's not in the show that much, at least on this soundtrack. I don't know if she's in the show more in the musical, but in the soundtrack, this is like one of her only songs. I think she does a fantastic job in this role. She's very funny, and I really do love Right Hand Man. It's a great song. It's very catchy, and I love that about this song. So then we get to the Guy Hates Shakespeare reprise.
Could only have one tiny little smidgen of his notoriety. It would relieve me of the pressures of responsibility. I've got him.
So here we find out why Nick really does hate Shakespeare, and that's because, of course, he's jealous of him, because the bard is who he wishes he was. He wishes that he was just as talented as him. He wishes that the crowd would love him, and you really do feel bad for his character. I mean, how can you not feel bad for him? That's something I think the show does very well. Even though he is sort of like an anti-hero in some way, because he's against Shakespeare, we do have to think Shakespeare's kind of a dick in this show. He really is, and I think it's really funny. But I think I Hate Shakespeare, the reprise, is really good, and you really do care for his character. But now we get to what I think is the highlight of this show by far, and that song is called A Musical.
It's a musical, and nothing's as amazing as a musical.
This song defines everything that this show is. It tells you, if you were to listen to any song on the soundtrack to basically get the idea, the gist of this show, I'd recommend two songs, Welcome to the Renaissance and A Musical. Definitely A Musical, and I'll tell you why this is a highlight of the show. This song, they're singing about musicals being made, and Nick thinks it's ridiculous. It's a hilarious thing to think about. The whole time, the Nostradamus is trying to convince him why musicals are a good idea, and yet they're in a musical. It's hilarious. And the fact that they just keep pulling out different, and as the song goes on, there are constant references to different musicals throughout the show, which if you're a huge fan of musicals like I am, you'll know every single one of them. I caught like a Les Mis reference, I caught a Rent reference, there's an Annie reference. It's hilarious how many references are in there. Again, this is from the 1590s, and yet they're referencing things that are from, like, the 80s, and it's hilarious. I love that they did that. And I think it definitely is very funny, and I think it's just such a fun song as well. They make fun of the fact that there's dancing for no reason. They make fun of the fact that you sing for no reason. They make fun of the fact that someone could get really bored at that, and I think it's just really, really funny, definitely, especially the fact that they're in a musical. It's such a fun joke, and it's the highlight of the show by far. I mean, it's the longest song on the show, but it's the highlight of the show. It really is the song that, when I think of what is most impressive about the show, it's that song. It really is. It's so impressive, and I absolutely love a musical. It's fantastic. And now we get to one of the more, then we get to this really short thing called The Black Death. The Black Death, of course, we know what it was, and it's really funny that basically Nick's trying to come up with an idea for his musical. So they decided to do a musical about the Black Death, which I think is really funny. And essentially, the Lord ends up hating this idea, which is understandable. I mean, how can you do a musical about the Black Death? It's not going to be a pleasant thing, and they're singing it like it's a very pleasant thing, and it's hilarious. I think definitely the fact that they're singing about the Black Death is just so funny, and I think the troupe does a great job of that. Something I love about the show by far is the troupe. Again, they're just fantastic. They really are. And the Black Death, it's really hilarious song to listen to. I love it. The next song we have is called I Love the Way. Like I said, this isn't a very female-oriented show. Portia is basically our main female character here. She is, the subplot of the show with Nigel, Nick's brother. She's the daughter of Brother Jeremiah, who obviously he's a preacher, and he doesn't want her to be with someone like Nigel. And you definitely see the chemistry between these two. It's actually a very sweet song. I really do like I Love the Way. It's one of the few sweet songs in the show, and I think they do a very good job with it. You know, they really start to discover their similarities, and they start to realize they really do care about each other. And I really do like I Love the Way. It's a really sweet subplot, and I definitely really think they do a great job with it. So now we finally get introduced to the character of Shakespeare. I mean, they've built him up so much that finally we do get to see him with willpower. I know I've probably said this countless times, but this is one of the greatest intros for a character in a long time. Just think about the intro for this character. You've built up the Bard to be this big rock star. That's exactly what he is. I mean, again, he is Shakespeare, and he's singing sonnets that you know. Like he's singing like "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" It's hilarious. And Christian Borle, by far, best supporting actor. This has best supporting actor written all over it. This is his. I'm sorry. This is Christian Borle's award by far. He is one of the best things about the show. He is so committed to this role. I love it. He actually puts on an accent. He's the only character in the show that actually puts on an accent, which I think is hilarious. And he does just such a great job in this song. You see why everyone loves him. You see everyone just loving him and the crowds eating him up and everyone just thinking of him as this big star. And it's really hilarious. I mean, think of celebrities today. That's really what they think of the Bard. And it's really funny that this whole song is just him just wowing the crowd at just him singing this really cool rock song. I think it's really cool the way they do that, and I definitely think it definitely is very funny. I love Willpower. It's a great song, and I think that it's a great way to get introduced to the character of the Bard. So then we get to the final song of Act 1, and that is Bottom's Gonna Be on Top. This is when Nick realizes that he has a great idea for a show, because finally he finds out about Shakespeare's new play that he's making called Hamlet, but he pronounced it wrong as Omelet, so Nick decides to maybe make this into a musical called Omelet, and he fantasizes how the crowd loves it, and he becomes bigger than Shakespeare, and probably has one of my favorite parts of the soundtrack in general, is the fight between Shakespeare, the Bard, and Nick, which is truly epic. I mean, it's all in his mind, but they're tap dancing there as they talk. It's so awesome. I'll play a little bit of it for you because it needs to be. You guys need to hear this. It is awesome. I gotta play a little bit for you. Okay. So here we go.
Hello. Well, if you wanna make it to the top, then you're gonna have to go through me.
Yeah, they literally tap dance the whole, like, just their fight. It's hilarious. They're doing a tap dancing fight, and it really is awesome. I mean, that's not something that's very easy to do, and they're awesome with that. I mean, it's the first real interaction that Nick and Shakespeare have, even though it's not a real interaction. I think it definitely is very funny that they do that, and I definitely really do love Bomb's Gonna Be on Top. It's a perfect way to end the show. You finally feel like something's gonna go right for Nick. I mean, he's always been in Shakespeare's shadow. He's always, Shakespeare's always been the big guy. He's always been the guy that's not that good. So you kind of think, okay, maybe there will be hope for him. Maybe this will actually happen. In fact, while listening to this, I'm like, maybe the musical will actually end this way. Maybe this will actually happen to Nick. So I thought that was really interesting the way they do that, and I definitely really do love Brahms Gonna Be on Top. I think it's a great song, and I think that Brian Darcy James definitely does a great job. Everyone does a really great job in that song, definitely. So then right away, I love the way in Act 2, again, we get a reprise of Welcome to the reprise of Welcome to the Renaissance.
To bottom are starting to sweat, 'cause they don't have the story written yet. Welcome to the
Again, this is just the perfect way to get reintroduced to the story, because this just perfectly tells you this is what Act 2 is going to be. Act 2 is going to be exactly the same as Act 1. We're not going to do anything different, but, that's what you came for the show for, stuff like that. And I think it's just awesome that they reintroduce Welcome to the Renaissance that way. It's so awesome. So then we get to the real first number of Act 2, and that is Hard to Be the Bard.
It's hard to be the bard. Honestly, I don't know how I do it.
Christian Borle really only has 2 big songs in the show, and the character of the Bard really only has 2 big songs, but this is one of them. Hard to Be the Bard is by far one of them. This is the character that you realize, Shakespeare's a dick. He really is. I mean, he really is a dick in this show. I mean, the whole song, he's talking about how he has all this writing to do, and all he cares about is the fame. He wishes that he could just go out and have the fame and have someone else do all the writing for him. And it's hilarious. I mean, you think about Shakespeare was this gifted, talented writer, and he has writer's block. It's just as funny as you think. And Christian Borle perfectly handles it with this song. I love Hard to Be the Bard. It's such an awesome song, too. I mean, it's just the background music, it's so sick. Really, it is. I mean, it's so cool the way they do that song. It really is like a rock song. Something I love about the Bard's characters, that every song he sings is like this really cool rock song. This song is very much like a bluesy rock, which I really do love. And I think it do a very good job with Hard to Be the Bard. I love shows that try out different genres. That's something I definitely love about shows, and is a major plus for me. A lot of people say the show doesn't know what genre it wants to be. To me, it just is. it's different genres because it depends on the character, which I definitely think is really cool. So then we get to the next song, which is very quick. It's the True practicing for Omelet the Musical with their first song called It's Eggs.
It's eggs, woo, roll some fixins in the middle.
This is obviously the stupidest song in the show. It's a hilarious song, but it's stupid, obviously. They're singing about an omelet. Like, how stupider can it get? And it's hilarious that this is actually happening. And obviously, it's not really going that well. And I think it definitely is very funny that they're just singing about eggs. Like, out of everything, it's just eggs. And it's hilarious. So, then we get to our next song, which is called We See the Light.
No, no, that won't do.
But then they'll hear the words of truth you've written from your heart.
If love is
Again, this show is not a very, like, serious show. This is the most beautiful song in the show by far, as We See the Light. This is when, Portia and, this is when Nigel and Portia, they want to get married, but her father doesn't want them to, but Nigel writes these beautiful words for her, and it really does swoon him over, and he says, alright, you can date my daughter, and it really is a sweet moment. You're very happy for them, and I definitely really do love We See the Light. The quartet's fantastic. I think they do a great job with that. I definitely really do love that song. So, the next song is called To Thine Own Self.
the night, sure as the sky turns to blue. This much I know.
This song is basically, it's real simple. There's an argument going on between Nigel and Nick. Nigel doesn't think that Omelet the Musical is the right thing for him, which is understandable. And Nick is like, no, this is my creative vision. This is what I want. The whole song, they're just exchanging different things. And you're not really sure if Nigel's actually going to, if Nick's going to be able to, sell him over. And if they are going to work together on this. And I think it's a really good song, definitely. I really do love it. And I think it's just a really great song. I think they both do a great job. And John Cariani and Brian Darcy James do a great job in this song. I really do love To Thine Own Self. It's another fantastic song. It really is. So, next we get to the reprise of Right Hand Man.
Him if I could, 'cause I know his heart is good. And he'll always be your right hand man.
And what I love about this song is that the first Right Hand Man is so, like, fast, and this is very slow. It actually is quite serious, and I really do love that about this. I mean, Bia is talking to Nigel about how he should still trust Nick. Nick's his right-hand man. They work together. They have that bond, and I think it's a really sweet song. I think definitely, Heidi Blingenstaff has a really great voice, and I think she does a very good job with this song. I really do love Right Hand Man. I think she does a great job with it, especially because the first one is so, like, fun, and this one's a lot more serious, and I definitely really love that. So then we get to, two songs in one, Something Rotten versus Make an Omelet.
Thinks another chef might have whisked our disparate eggs together as one. Pray, nephew, what dost thou mean? Well, I'll tell you. The fruit of life can't always taste the...
This whole song is basically Nick's musical, and I love that, again, it has modern-day references to other musicals, which I find to be very cool. I love that they do that, and it's just a very fun song, Make an Omelet. It really does put you into that world. It's like, okay, this is Omelet the Musical, but you know what? I'm going with it. If you can go for something like this, you can go for Omelet the Musical, which I think is really, really funny that that's the show they're doing, and... Then we get to the craziness of this show. Literally, the ending of the show is crazy, and that starts with To Thine Own Self reprise.
You knew I could be. I lost sight of all that mattered somehow. I did not see it then.
Now, we basically do find out here that Nostradamus tricked them all. He's actually working with Shakespeare, and Shakespeare sued them because he stole because Nick stole his vision. And they're in the courtroom. They're about to be sentenced to be beheaded, but basically Bia comes in disguised as the lawyer and basically saves their asses. And basically she's made a deal with the bar that they'll all be exiled to America, which is really funny. And this is when they're all singing about it, and I definitely really do love To Thine Own Self. It's really funny, and I think they do a really great job with it. So then we get to the big finale in the show. This is the final song on the show, and this is the finale. It's just called Finale.
So here we go, putting on a show, and not just any old ordinary show, a big and bold extraordinary show, a must-see magical, new original musical.
This just pretty much just says you off of what you love about the show. It has the great songs you love. It has the characters that you love, and it's just the perfect way to end this show. I really do think. I think it's a great song. It shows the amazing ensemble, and I really love the finale to the show. It's the perfect way to end this show, I have to say. So overall, guys, really, really solid stuff. Really, honestly, this is a very solid show. I didn't expect to love the soundtrack as much as I did. There are honestly things that I would want the soundtrack to win. I'm going to tell you guys some things that I would want the soundtrack to win. While I love Fun Home, I feel like this show should get Best Original Score. I really do. I think the score to Fun Home is fantastic. Fun Home's going to win so much, though, that I want to get Something Rotten for something. So, Best Original Score, I honestly do want Something Rotten to win. Because I want this to win something. And if there's anything I know that's going to win, it's Best Featured Actor in a Musical. Definitely, Christian Borle is definitely going to get that Oscar. And if not, it's going to be Brad Oscar, because he, of course, does the whole musical number, but it has to go to Christian Borle. Christian Borle is just perfect in this role as a bard. He's so funny, and he's so charismatic, and you just love him as character, and I just think he does a great job as the bard. Best costume design, by far, this show needs to win. The costumes are so gorgeous in this musical, and I love it. And also, with the direction is really great as well. I think in direction definitely has a very good chance of winning. But if anything, if there was a best ensemble nomination, this show should get by far. This show is an amazing ensemble, and I really do love everything about the ensemble on the show. I really do. I have to say, I think the ensemble is fantastic in the show. Truly, they are great. So overall, guys, really, really solid show. Really, it is a very solid show. I really love everything about this show for the most part. I really have no complaints about it. It's a very fun show. You have to know what you're getting into. I will say that. This is a musical where you have to know what you're getting into. This is not going to be a very serious show. I mean, it's songs about Shakespeare being sung like rock songs. I mean, it doesn't get more awesome than that. It really has some awesome music. It has some really, catchy songs. Some really awesome performances. Everybody is giving their all in this show. Seriously, they're staying committed to their roles. No matter how silly they get, they stay committed to it, and they just love it, and they just go with it. And that's really what a great actor does, is they stay committed to their roles, and I think they do a fantastic job of that in the show. So I really hope the show does get some love during the Tonys. Probably won't get a lot. At least it got nominated for a lot. It got nominated for a shit ton of things. In pretty much every single category, it's nominated for something, and I think that's awesome that Tony voters were so generous with this. I mean, Fun Home got just as much as this show did, and that's awesome that it did. I mean, this had 10, Fun Home at 12, so maybe a little bit more, but that's just because of the cast and things like that. Fun Home, Something Rotten, pretty much everyone you want to get nominated is nominated. The only person I would say that I would have wanted to get nominated that's not is Heidi Blankenstaff as Bia. She's great in this show, probably just because she doesn't have a lot to do. And also, Michael James Scott, but again, he only has that one song in Welcome to Renaissance, which it just is so memorable. So every song on the show is great. I love everything about this show, and I really hope you guys check out the soundtrack, because it truly is fantastic. So that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you guys in my next video, which I cannot wait for, because it will be for the season premiere of Pretty Little Liars, which I cannot wait for. I know it's going to be awesome. I know it's going to be really creepy as well, and I will definitely see you guys for that. Okay, but let me know what you guys think of the soundtrack, and I will see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye.